Hello, students. So, I'm Miss Samantha, your spiritual care and guidance community involvement animator, and we are here today for the fourth part of our four-part video series on courage. So, in the first video, we learned about what courage is, and we learned about what fear is and what it feels like in our body. And in the second video, we learned about acts of courage, what courage looks like in extraordinary circumstances, but more importantly, what courage looks like day to day. The third video, we learned about Canadian youth from around our country who have shown courage. And then this fourth video, remember I promised in the first, we're going to learn some tools of how to be courageous, right? How to engage that parasympathetic nervous system and how to work through that fear and that embarrassment when all of that amygdala, right? Remember that middle part of our brain when it's like firing up on all cylinders, how to help bring ourselves back to like the here and now, engaging in that parasympathetic nervous. So, reminder, sympathetic nervous system, their autonomic nervous system, is that stress response. So it revs you up. It prepares you to fight or to take flight or to freeze. And it's usually our heart rate accelerates, our breath is fast and shallow, our pupils expand because it makes it easier for you to see everything. Your digestive tract actually it shuts down, so it becomes difficult to digest. So we might get those feelings in our stomach that doesn't feel so great when we're stressed or worried. It's because most likely there's food that needs to be digested, but your body's like, nope, not going to do it. I refuse to work. Here's all the energy pushed to your heart and your muscles. Blood rushes to your muscles away from your brain and makes it really hard to think clearly and to rationalize. Remember that prefrontal cortex? It's far, far away. So it's trying to get it back. Hormones rush through your body, making you feel anxious, and it expends energy, right? Like after you feel this, if you've gone through anxiety or if you've gone through fear, like all that energy has gone into your body, and usually you're just exhausted once it's finally completed its course. So again, remember, it's not necessarily bad, the stress response. Like it comes from a good place. Like it helped us survive, especially long, long ago. But if there's so many more things in our day-to-day life that can trigger this response in our body, and our body just hasn't quite evolved to catch up with that. So things like a car cutting us off or our cell phone notifications on our cell phone going off can actually trigger this sympathetic nervous system in our body. It can actually and a test being placed in front of us or text messages from someone we're maybe in a disagreement with or someone we're have a crush on or speaking in front of a class, right? Um, not so helpful for our body to be ready to like run miles very quickly or to you know, punch and fight and our muscles are all like stronger and our body has more energy to take a test. That doesn't help. So the key here is we want to help our body to engage in the parasympathetic nervous system. So this is the relaxation response of our body. Calms us down, prepares us for rest. It's that restoration. So the heart beats slow, rhythmically. Our breath is like full and deep. Our pupils of our eyes go back to shrinking. Your gut is active, so it helps you digest your food and absorb the nutrients from your food. Increased blood flow to the gut, to the lungs, to the brain, so you can rationalize and think and process. Hormones rush in, lifting your mood and helping you relax. And it helps you conserve your energy. So, this can be really important if you're going to speak publicly or you're going to have a conversation with someone that you're nervous about or you're going to take a test, right? So to engage our parasympathetic nervous system can be a really key component to be able to move forward and to rationalize and think and do what we want to do. So there's a few things that we can do. So one of the first things is when that sympathetic nervous system engages, right? It's our body wants to fight or it wants to like run away. Okay. So, and then there's also freeze and tend to befriend. But we're just going to do the fight or flight to keep it simple right now. But basically, all this energy is rushed into your body. And if you don't use it in some way, if you don't get out that energy, it can just keep going. So The best way is actually if you can go exercise, that's like key. That's like amazing, and that will really help. We can't always like leave our test and go run a mile, right? Or maybe we have limitations. So what we're going to do is a simple shake your hands. So it seems silly, but actually, if you just shake your hands and shake, like if you're sitting at a test, you're about to take it, you notice that fear response checked in, and you're sitting there, just shake your hands or like open and close them. Just try to get that energy right out in like a controlled, not distracting, too distracting to others around you kind of way. So that's one way. Okay. The other is taking diaphragmatic breaths. So taking 5 slow, deep breaths, breathing in for 4 counts, holding and breathing out. Breathing in through our nose, down deep into our diaphragm. So like your belly should be expanding. Sitting up straight, so you have space in your diaphragm and your chest, your rib cage, your lungs to breathe in. And so one thing is breathe in through your nose like you're smelling something good, and breathe out through your mouth like you're blowing out a candle. So inhaling for 4, holding, exhaling for 4, and repeating 5 times. So why this works? Because I know you've probably heard it multiple times, just like breathe. And so it seems like way too simple. But what this does is if we just take those 4 or 5 slow, deep breaths, think about it like in that lizard animalistic part of your brain that's like firing off, right? It's ready to fight or flight. If you take these deep breaths, you're triggering that part of your body. You're telling that body what? You're telling it you're safe, right? Like if you're able to take 5 slow, deep breaths, you're signaling to your body that there is no threat. You're signaling that you do not need to run away. You do not need to fight something right now. So it's a way to counteract that nervous system explosion and just to bring that parasympathetic, that calming response to engage your digestion, engage your thought processes. Okay, so we're going to practice together right now. So you can place a hand on your heart, a hand on your belly, if that's comfortable, like in the picture. And we're just going to breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay. So did you notice? Probably for most of you, this deep breathing will engage something. Some of you it may not have worked. I encourage you to try this again when you're alone. Sometimes, remember, some of us can feel embarrassed, right? And so this can feel weird and awkward if other people are around us and watching us. So trying this again when you're alone may trigger the response. And so sometimes it takes practice for us to do this. So right now, trying to breathe deeply in front of others could engage that fear response in your body, right? If you feel embarrassed about it. So therefore, it probably didn't work for you. Sorry, and that's okay. But I encourage you to try it again at another time. And so the more that we just practice it, the more it will help our body to engage that response. And then the final thing also might light up some embarrassment. But this is called brave poses. And so I will actually put this into the notes as well. This is a TED Talk. And so it's the importance of standing tall and standing proud in these brave poses. So again, think about it. If you are just like standing big, standing tall, standing still in this like, engaged way, your body's like standing proud, standing strong. Think about what that's telling that little animalistic part of your brain. Just like that breathing, right? That slow breathing. You're basically giving a signal to your mind, to that animalistic part, So that autonomic nervous system, you're saying like, hey, we're safe, we're good. I wouldn't be standing still if I needed to run away or fight, right? Okay. So that's why this, like, I do this a lot. Like, I call it my like Wonder Woman pose. You can't fully see it in this video, but I have my hands on my hip or my waist, and like my feet are a little bit apart, and like my shoulders are back, and I'm standing tall. So this is a brave pose. And so your brave pose could look different, right? You can have your hands out, but again, watch this video, learn about it, and then I encourage you to practice. Like, what is your brave pose for you, right? It can look different for different people. And maybe you don't need to practice this in class around others, because again, it might end up triggering that fear and that embarrassment. So that's okay. I understand it. But you can try practicing at home alone, okay? So that is now the end. Okay, sorry, kind of an end. If you would like to work on this kind of journaling exercise on courage, I will leave this also in the footnotes. So this is just a worksheet that you can do, and you can write or you can draw how you will practice courage. And so different examples. So one, it's like being courageous, standing up for yourself. Like, how will you practice that? What will that look like? Like, what's something you want to do to stand up for yourself? Um, what about standing up for an idea? What's something that you will do to stand up for an idea? Like, will you protest? Will you write letters? Like, what does it look like to be courageous on maybe equality for ethnicities, equality for religious, equalities for sexual preferences, right? Like, what is, or equality, like our environment, right? Like, what idea like lights your heart and you know is right and requires um, you and others to stand up for it? And just think about, like, how will you take a stand? And then what about standing up for others? Just think about like how you'll practice this, right? Like, if you see people being picked on or teased or saying things that you know aren't right, like a racial slur or a sexual preference slur, what does it look like? Right? What if you stand up and be like, no, I don't think that's funny, right? If everyone else is laughing when someone says something that you know is not comfortable, right? Think about how you'll practice it. So thinking about it beforehand and writing out, it seems a little silly, but this helps prime our brain so that when these instances happen, we'll be courageous. So like standing up for yourself, if there's something, if someone's going to tease or say something cruel to you, like think about what will you do? Will you take a breath? Will you stand your ground? Like just practice ahead of time. Think about what it is you would do, what you would say, how you would engage that sympathetic nervous system, right? Either the breathing or the postures or the shaking your hands, whatever works. And then also this last one, it's helping others stand up for themselves. So sometimes we'll like jump in and we think someone needs our help, but maybe they don't. And so think about for a moment, like what it is that you can do to help others stand up for themselves sometimes. Like, how can you be an ally in different situations? Sometimes this isn't going to look as courageous as it is, but sometimes it's just sitting and listening to someone. Sometimes it's asking them specifically, like, how can I help you? Sometimes it's listening to them telling you what you did may have offended them. Like, you may be like an ally for this cause or that cause, and you think like what you're doing and like your heart's there, but maybe you still say or you do something. You use the wrong pronouns, like who knows? And so also it can be the courage to hear from people that you respect that you made a mistake. And so it's the courage to listen to that as well. Okay, so now we're at the end of our series. And so just here are some quotes about courage. And I encourage you to think about one of these, or maybe find some others. And you can use it as like a bit of a refrain for yourself to remind yourself to be courageous, because it's not easy, right? It's really hard. So remember to practice, to have patience and love for yourself when you don't succeed, because there's definitely going to be times where the fear and the embarrassment and the uncertainty are probably going to win. It's okay, it happens. But just remind yourself, like, you're not alone. We need courage in different ways, but it's there.